Welcome to Intentionality with Dominique, the show that helps business owners become valued and in-demand suppliers in the marketplace to scale their businesses. Let's start today's show with host and intentional connector, Dominique Simpson-Milton.
Welcome to another episode of Intentionality, the show dedicated to increasing the success rate of entrepreneurs and their business by sharing the strategies and tactics of successful suppliers. I am your host, Dominique Simpson-Milton. Today's episode is brought to you by CVMSDC, also known as the Council. Digital transformation, trusted partnerships, real-world impact. Our next guest represents a company that delivers all three, with over 60 years of experience in driving scalable IT solutions for public and private sector clients. Quentin Gayles is the Chief Revenue Officer of Virtual Technologies Group, also known as VTG, a national leader in managed services, cybersecurity, and end-to-end digital transformation, with a mission to not only solve technical problems, but to serve as equity partners in progress. VTG has become the go-to resource for organizations looking to modernize, secure, and scale with purpose. Quentin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dominique. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yes. Now, what I said was a mouthful.
Yeah.
So please break it down for our viewers so they can understand truly, what does VTG do?
Absolutely. I'll make it really simple. What I like to say is we make technology an easy button for our customers. So whether you're a business with distributed locations, whether you're a K through 12 brick and mortar school, whether you're in healthcare or in state, local, or federal government, we are the partners that can come in, understand your mission, your objective, and your charter, and figure out what pieces of technology, solutions, and services plug in so you can focus on your daily mission.
So I'm a business owner. I'm
Sure.
starting out. I call you up and I say, I have no clue, right?
Absolutely.
How do I go about automating my organization? You would come in and help me with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we would really start and just understand, who's your customer? What type of tools do you need to deploy? So right now, for instance, a lot of organizations are looking to move to the cloud and use SaaS-based applications. So we'd want to understand, where are your users distributed? What kind of applications and roles is it that they are going to perform? And that will allow us to build personas, right? So you might have a persona of someone who travels all the time. Mm-hmm. That might inform a certain type of hardware technology. That might inform what kind of mobile licensing they would need. And ultimately, we would work with your team to put together a plan. So at the end of the day, you have the right devices, whether they're laptops, desktops, tablets, phones, ultimately ensuring that those devices are secure from a cybersecurity perspective. And then we would work with you to make sure you have the right application licensing in place, because at the end of the day, you want your employees to be focused on whatever your mission is. And so we want to make that tech transparent. So we're going to help you design it. We are going to help you procure it, deploy it in your environment. And then as that equipment and that technology is in your four walls, if you have a problem, we also have the right trained expertise to take a phone call at a service desk or to proactively monitor that technology so that when something does happen, then we can get you back up and running as soon as possible.
So that's a holistic approach,
Absolutely.
Right? From start to finish.
Absolutely.
So take my organization for an example, right? So we have a virtual IT person. You've already looked at our business. So
Absolutely.
You're coming in and you're going to give us advice on how we can really strengthen our business by using technology.
That's right. And so, the way that we really approach it is, we have disciplined certified engineers that can both consult and advise. So again, whether it's hardware or app, the first thing we're going to do is take an inventory of your current state. What's working, what's not working? Where do we want to innovate? Where do we want to build towards in the future? That's going to allow us to put together really a digital transformation plan that we will partner with you on, right? We can't do everything at the same time. So we first have to prioritize. We have to understand budget considerations. And again, we want to build with that future state in mind. And so we not only show up and help design the plan, we work with you collaboratively. And then the next phase would actually be getting into the implementation of that plan.
So now that sounds expensive to me.
It can.
It can be expensive, right? So for the average business owner starting out, right, that they could be intimidated by what you just shared.
It sounds fancy. Mm-hmm. It certainly does.
Mm-hmm. But it's important, right? So it might sound, it's just like, having cybersecurity software on your computer, right? There are basics that you need to have in order to scale and to do business with large companies. They want to make sure that when they engage with you, that you have certain securities in place. Talk about that.
Well, certain. I mean, here's the thing. You can't afford not to do it in this day and age, right? Mm-hmm. And so, it's really about understanding where your vulnerabilities exist. And, I don't want to scare anyone, but there are people who wake up. There are nation states that get up and think about ways to infiltrate and get their hands on our data. And so really our job is to help you and help others get in the best possible posture as they can to ensure that their data, with their business is safe. Ultimately, that their customers' data is safe, because no matter how great your idea is, if you are the reason that someone's data has been breached, that's not good for your business. That's not really good for anyone. So that's why it's so important to have that consultative relationship and approach to understand what are the cybersecurity solutions you need to secure those devices. And by the way, if you're buying a SaaS application, a lot of people assume that, I won't name any specific vendors, that they're backing up your data and that everything is secure in a public-private cloud, but that's not always the case. And so we really see ourselves as technology advisors to, again, just, shoot you straight in terms of what your risk profiles are, how we can help mitigate those profiles. So again, you can focus on delivering your business.
So what I'm hearing, Quentin, is it's part of the business plan. Just like you have marketing, you have an accountant, you need to have this IT infrastructure in place so that your business can grow and your business is secure. Because actually, if you don't have it, it could put you out of business, right?
That's absolutely right. I mean, there are ransomware attacks that happen, every day. And if you can't operate your business, if you can't get to your customer data, if you can't interact with your vendors and with your suppliers, that is business impacting in 2025. And so I can tell you, having worked in the commercial business sector, having worked in the federal government space, and even worked with some startups, I've had startups come to me and say, hey, I have this idea. I'm standing up a new app, but you know what? I want to design and think about compliance from day one. I want to think about cybersecurity from day one. And I also want to think about what it's going to take for me to operate and to deliver this platform over the life cycle of my business.
I'm glad you put it that way, because it is so integral to the beginning of a business. Or if you're already in advanced business, to go back, you can come in, your team can come in and look at the business and see where you need to make changes.
And that's one of the most fun things, especially when you have a business partner that recognizes that they need to change. And, again, it's a partnership because, granted, maybe when you deployed that new technology 3 years ago or 5 years ago, or you picked one app over the other, it might have been the right decision at that point in time. But we know how fast technology innovates. And so we get to come in and say, hey, let's just put the names and the logos aside. Why do you need this tool? What does it do for you? And we actually walk through the workflow. We have a customer today that has a team of resources that goes out in kind of the merchant retailing business. And they have, tough tablets and LTE devices. And I think what happened over time, they just kept layering application on application. And then they got to a point, they go, we're not sure if we've made it easier for our employees. We're certainly not sure if we've made it easier for our customers to transact. So let's take a clean sheet approach. And on one side, we have the must-haves. This is what we need to operate our business. Then there's kind of the nice-to-haves. And then there's kind of like, if we were just dreaming big for the future, what does that look like? And the truth is somewhere in the middle, because there's always cost considerations and time considerations. But it's so fun to go into those environments because you're almost kind of like a detective. Then you get to write the plan, and then you got to get to see the end state.
Yeah, I like how you put that, because also as you're going in as a detective to find out how are you operating, and then how can you operate for the future, you might end up saving the money that it costs to do that, right?
You find lots of opportunities, I'll say, right? Because, again, you think about cloud, you can go and sign up and you have a subscription and, maybe you thought you needed 10 instances of something. And if those instances are not being used, or conversely, if you weren't sized right in the beginning and you're paying overage charges, that's not positive either. And so oftentimes when we go into an environment, we think about that entire technology stack. So if you start with the physical layer, first and foremost, where are my assets? Who has them? And are they secure? Because that's just, potentially a risk.
So tell me your favorite success story on how you've helped a client?
Yeah. So, man, there are so many, but there's one that comes to mind. In the education space, and so if we think back, I was just talking to a few colleagues here recently about how much COVID changed the world.
Changed everything.
And so this is one of our long tenured customers that's in kind of the virtual schooling space. And if you might imagine, if you can have a student anywhere in the United States, that student may or may not have robust internet connectivity. We want to make sure that they can have a experience and a device that allows them to show up, to receive their remote learning, to interact, with their administrators and interact with their peers. And ultimately, success for that student is ensuring at the end of that school year, they can go and take their state test and be promoted to the next grade. And that's pretty important. So what we do with this client is we help design and procure the technology stack that is deployed out to the student, that the teachers and administrators also use to interact with those students. And in cases where people have weak internet connectivity or instability, we can deploy a mobile 5G hotspot, provide that as an entire managed experience. So again, the technology becomes transparent. And then success for us is at the end of the school year, when hundreds of thousands of students come in to do their state testing, we want to ensure we have 5 nines of availability because it's a stressful situation. I can remember those days.
5 nines of what is 5 nines?
5 nines of availability. So it means 99.99999% uptime.
Okay.
And so that way the student goes in, they focus on what they need to do in terms of their state testing. And when they're done, we come in, we pick up the technology, we pick up the network infrastructure, and we package it up to be ready to deploy again. So I think about creating that experience for that end user.
Sure. So now, Quentin, that's a great example. This is the first time I've ever interviewed anybody who was not the owner of the company, right? But I wanted to do so because I think it's important for owners of businesses to understand how important it is to hire the right people to represent your company. And to take you to the next level. Understand your weaknesses, understand what you need that you're missing, and hire that person to be able to catapult you. Talk about your role in the company.
Well, I'm so pleased to be at Virtual Technologies Group. So, my role is as Chief Revenue Officer, and that really means I'm responsible for sales, I'm responsible for marketing, and I'm also responsible for the customer experience. And I have to tell you, VTG has been around since 1962. And obviously the company has pivoted as technology has changed and evolved. And so in April of 2024, Quotient, professional services division that had primarily been focused in federal government contracting, was acquired. So the reason I'm here is I had the pleasure to meet Nick Jean-Baptiste, who is our CEO of Virtual Technologies Group. And our majority shareholder is Jack Mill Partners, which is a diverse-owned PE firm based in New York City. And I really connected with Nick on his mission beyond the business. Nick will tell you that he worked very hard for everything he had. Started with very humble beginnings. Immigrated to the United States from Haiti, and went to school. Got his undergraduate degree. Went to business school. And worked for a number of years on Wall Street and really enjoyed what he does. I mean, he's a financial wizard and he's a great leader. But in 2015, he decided to start his own firm and really be focused on how we can engage in the community and how we can give back. And so Virtual Technologies Group was the first technology services company he purchased.
So he bought the company
in 2022. Correct. And, ran it. And then in 2024, to continue to build out our portfolio and ensure that we can serve our clients wherever they are, had the foresight to say, let's go add in some high-end professional services where we brought in application development, program and project management as a service. The way that would translate to a business is that if you said, hey, I don't need a full-time CIO or CTO, but I need someone to advise me, we're able to offer that on a fractional basis. Or I need to come in and refactor an application. I have, engineers that sit on the bench that are supporting large government institutions that do that day in and day out. So my real job is to ensure that as we show up and go to market, we're talking to our clients in a way that they can understand, that our offerings, our solutions are aligned to what our customers need. And then I have the fun job of working with our operations peers, our technical peers. I'm active in the vendor community. Obviously, I'm active in the diverse business community as a proud MBE. And so I get to wear lots of different hats and have lots of fun.
So the owner brought it into the company that was already existing for years, and then you all have strategized on how you're going to grow it to the next level.
Absolutely. So that's part of my night job.
Okay.
So, in terms of, running the business, so I have a sales team, a marketing team, customer experience. Part of our thesis is we also want to go and find other companies that we can acquire that will, again, help us create, more value. So, from a top-down perspective, Dominique, I've talked about professional services and application development. Of course, we can help with hardware and, smart hands and feet to dispatch and install, move, add, and change technology. And then managed services being the wrapper to ensure that we can support that, support technology over its life cycle. So as I think about the future, part of my job is advising the board and the CEO on where we might have gaps in the portfolio and what companies we might want to go look at to tuck in so we can close those gaps.
Excellent. And for our smaller businesses that are listening, that are trying to figure out, how am I going to navigate my IT service? I heard you say you have fractional services.
Yes.
So you can hire somebody out to help them and be their IT expert, right? And then you can, as you're doing for us, you can look at our operation and tell us how we can expand and grow with technology.
No doubt. I mean, I would tell you multiple times per week, I'm talking to customers about a fractional CIO or CTO. I would say second to that would be, we have lots of different projects going on. Can you help me with a senior technical project or program manager? And so we're really nimble, we're agile, we're flexible, we're focused on the outcome. And that's what I really love about our company and our culture is we're really aligned to our customer.
So one more thing I want to touch on, because we talked about how you can help the small business, but most of your clients are large, big businesses, right? And so how are you helping them? When should they call you for services?
Yeah, so I would say, again, we like to be problem solvers.
Okay.
We're supporting customers, in the upper SMB space, which, depending on how you define it, that could be 100 seats up to 500 seats. And we certainly have customers that are in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of seats. What we're not is, we're not here to be a day zero high-end consultant to come in and do a 5-year roadmap. But I kind of think of us as at day 0.5. Where you're a business and you say, hey, I've decided I'm going to migrate my ERP system. And I'm thinking about, I might have legacy data centers, or I might have technology out in environments. I'm not sure if I'm using it. Well, we can come in and help you put a plan together to assess both physically and remotely. What do you have where? What software licensing do you have deployed? And just kind of get an understanding of your risk profile. And then based on that data, we can help you come up with a plan and a timeline with fingertips on keyboards, not just to deliver a PowerPoint, but to show up with the right trained resources to actually now go off and execute, that technology transformation on your behalf. So what I would say is, generally speaking, if there is a technology problem you have, give us a call. And to the degree that we can't help you, there's a good chance that we have a partner in our ecosystem, but I'm willing to bet there's probably an angle where we can lean in. And we're going to tell you where we shine. And certainly, again, if there's a place that we're not the best in, then we're going to be transparent with you there too.
Well, that is a good way to end, that you can come in and consult. And if the individuals don't need you, then you'll let them know,
Absolutely.
Right? But, utilizing technology to catapult your business is so critical, right? Because we can work smarter versus harder.
Right.
And there's so many different ways that corporations and small businesses can't even understand what the options are. And so bringing you in to be able to explain how they can expand is critical.
There's just no doubt. And look, sometimes there's a short-term plan. Someone may say, I might need a resource for 6 months. Or, hey, Quentin, I'll tell you, hardware right now with tariffs and just all of the disruption in the global supply chain, we can also be thought leaders for you to say, if you have an expansion, if you're bringing on interns for the summer or you have some kind of event, let's sit down and work collaboratively so we can get upstream to ensure you have what you need. So when it's go time, we're ready. And we only do that when we can sit down and just kind of have an open-ended discovery conversation.
Excellent. Well, we're going to close out, Quentin.
Yes.
Any final words to our viewers in terms of success tips?
Well, I would just say, our culture is one where we're leading with purpose and with intent. We are scrappy and we are hungry. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and meet with you today.
Quentin, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and your resources with us. And congratulations on 60 plus years of success.
Thank you so much, Dominique. It's been my absolute pleasure. And I can't wait to see where we're going to go in the next 60 years. So thank you.
Excellent job. Excellent job. So if you're looking to turn IT from a cost center into a growth engine, or if you need a trusted partner to help you manage and modernize tech at scale, visit vtgus.com or reach out via email at sales@vtgus.com. Well, that concludes today's episode of Intentionality. Be sure to join me for our next episode, and remember that we must always remain intentional to gain knowledge, skills, and connections so we can grow and thrive in business together. I'm Dominique Simpson-Milton, and I will see you next time.
This has been another episode of Intentionality with Dominique, brought to you by the CVMSDC. For more information, please visit cvmsdc.org.